I have a few reference photographs for this painting. This is going to be a Himalayan landscape with the stone slab roof hut in one place. And that will be wooden stone slab. Uh, I have two, three reference photographs. So I'm making a basic drawing which is very simple. The drawing is very simple, but when we start painting, these simple forms are going to become a story. Like okay, so just to make that place a bit interesting, and this goes down, and slightly away from here is another slope. We'll be having evergreen trees out here. Okay, I'm not going to be drawing that. Um, this is one slope, this is one slope, it goes down, and from here, I didn't foresee this kind of complication out there. This is pretty complicated. Okay. Okay, there are going to be trees out there, and another slope out there, and then we go to the snow peaks. Okay, the snow peaks are going to be the typical Himalayan snow peaks. It goes up like that, has say 50 degrees turn, sharp up, and then there is a smooth slope on one side. Usually it's on the uh, eastern side. The effect here is going to be manipulated while doing the painting. There isn't much that we can do now. Okay, we can't have a drawing. No, it doesn't work. I'm going to start with the sky. Now, I'm just wondering if I should increase the sky area or maybe not. I'll take cobalt blue. I have my palette out here. There are some colors which are dry from the last painting. I can use them. Watercolors can be used uh, till they become very dirty, or till they till they become very dirty, mixing with other colors, and the purity is gone, or there's too much dust on the color. Then sometimes we leave it open, uh, dust collects on top, and that can disturb the painting a lot, as you can imagine. So, okay, I'm taking a blue, and I'm taking two brushes. I'm taking two brushes, one for the wash. What I mean by the wash is I dilute this paint and get it ready to be applied. I don't want to be mixing this paint after I have wet the sky area, because I won't have a control on how fast or how slow it's going to be drying. So I have to get the wash ready. So this is what we mean by wash. I'm going to keep it aside and I'm going to keep this brush as it is. Uh, Either I'll use this brush for wetting the paper. I'm going to take a angular flat brush. The peaks are going to be the tip of the peaks are going to be painted dark. So I can go with the wetting of the paper into the peaks. Generally, we have to be very careful. Like if it is going to be lighter or of a totally different color, warm color or something like that, very different from the sky, then we have to be very careful about where the color, where the water brushing ends. It is actually that straining because I have a camera right in front of me. The Okay, the sky becomes lighter as it comes towards the horizon. That we know. We have spoken about that several times. In my earlier videos, we have spoken about that. See, it's already dry. This paper, this particular paper, uh, absorbs the water very much. Like blotting paper, it takes the color in, which is not a good idea. Uh, so I knew that this is going to happen, but I wanted to see how I can manage that. Sort of, it is being managed, but I wish this didn't happen. I wish this didn't happen this bad. Now I'm thinking about how I'm going to be managing these areas. Okay. Usually, when I do Himalayan mountainscape, I don't make the sky this active because the concentration has to be here. Why I have done that is because there is going to be a lot of snow out here and the black rocks, and suddenly it's going to turn into the bluish green evergreen forest out here. It becomes brighter, like yellowish green. Slowly turns into yellowish green out here. This place is going to be dark, so there is going to be some drama out here. So that I think will work. If it doesn't work, then I'll have to do something about that. Now I'm going to wash my brush that has blue in it, and I'll have to wash my flat brush too, so that the colors don't get mixed. Okay, now I'll have to wait till that part dries for that, like that part has to dry before I start working on the peaks. The stone rocky snow peaks. Okay, I'm going to come to this part. Now I have a green out here. I think I'm going to come to this. I'll come to this and I'll go to that. By then this part should be dry and I can paint that area. Okay. Now I'm going to take a little bit of yellow . I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and what happened is yellow got splashed onto my finger. I'll have to clean that before I do anything else, because I don't want powerful colors falling onto the paper. So I'll have to clean my hand, if you can see. I have some rags instead of tissue paper, which many artists use. I like to use rags. Now I'll have to leave these rocks and paint this area. Okay. I'm going to still use this brush and another brush, which is this. Okay, the number given here is 24, but I think I would call this a 10 number brush. That company's number is that, so. When these colors will dry very fast, so I'll have to be the angular brush works very well. A flat brush will not work well with this, obviously. The fine strokes like that cannot be given with a flat brush. we can make these areas high contrast to show that they are close by, and slowly uh, I know that that can be done to bring the that area close by increasing the contrast, but still I'll have to slowly reduce the darkness and the freshness of the color even at this distance when I start moving on to a slightly fading away area. Painting texture even in areas which are going to be flat later. Meaning you are doing that texture and it becomes flat. But the strokes that you give now will be visible to a certain extent, which is going to be very, very helpful when you're painting those areas with texture. I'm making it, even at this level, I'm making it slightly blue-green. These might become small, uh, small rocks later. Depends on how it's going to dry. The light is coming from here. I'm applying a little bit of yellow out here to make it look sandy. There is a path out here. We'll see what we can do about it later. Okay, now this is, see, if you touch like this, you can, if it is damp, you can feel the dampness. When the surface is pretty dry and the dampness is inside, you can't feel it when you touch it like that. You'll have to feel it with the back of your hand, especially with the tip of the finger right below the nail. That is where you feel if it is still wet. If it is wet, it might start smudging, and you'll get what we call as mushrooms, like it will just flare up like that. We don't want that to happen there. Okay, now if I'm going to go to this, I'm going to have trouble. If I go to this place is still wet. And if I go to that, I'll wet that area. I think I'll go to that and try my luck and see if it is still wet or if it is dry enough to take color. Every time you complete coloring a certain area, it will be very, very important that you wipe off. You wash your brush and wipe off your brush and keep it clean, because in a hurry you might use a brush which has a color that is not necessary in a certain area. You apply that color and you might ruin your painting. Correcting your painting is going to be very, very strenuous. Okay, now I got this. I'm going to take another angular brush, a slightly smaller one. This is one, and I have a much smaller one too. That I think I'll try that out here. Both the brushes will come in handy. I think I'm going to be using all three brushes. Let me wash my brushes and see if they're clean. This brush had a little bit of red. I don't know how. Probably I was touching up something after I had completed a painting. Now I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna. I already have some burnt sienna, but that won't be enough. So I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna. It's obviously you will have to be keeping colors. Now, like I kept burnt sienna. Initially there was some burnt sienna out there, so I keep the fresh burnt sienna near that. That's a warm color near this. These two colors go together very well. These two will have to be mixed whenever it's necessary. Now I'm going to be mixing these two. I don't want a green to come into this, but I want these, the blue and the burnt sienna, to be mixed together. It has to be warm in certain places. It has to be a cool grey in many places, which should look like a dark rock. I have to be pretty certain as to where I leave my whites. I like to have a clear idea as to how the pattern of snow forms out here, because it cannot be a random fall. There is a character to it. There will be avalanches, not like that, uh, and they gather out here. Uh, there's a clear pattern as to how snow gets settled down in ledges and crevices and how they slide down avalanches. Avalanche. Okay. That's not a term we very often use because we are nowhere near such mountains. I'm in southern part of India, so now I'll have to see how this works. The peaks don't seem to have much snow. Okay, now I'll have to see how these two connect. This is not a snow peak. No, those are the stone and snow peaks. I can go into the details later. I can go into the details now. Mm, I'll have to make a study of what I do there. So I'll go up, complete that, and come down. Actually, I'm painting. Uh, I'm following a certain pattern as I would carefully follow the patterns of a flower. Like the character has to be there. There is an avalanche out here, so let me paint that very carefully. Suddenly, some areas I uh, have to be very careful because I should make it very warm. The distance, the illusion of depth will be lost if I make it very warm. Huh? But suddenly, some areas, instead of black rocks, brown rocks show up. That's exactly what I'm painting now. See, we can paint something like that, okay? I'm creating certain forms as if the rocks have been hewn out as the snow was sliding down. like centuries of snow sliding down in that area has brought it down like that. Okay, so I am doing that. Once it is dry, I can paint over this and make it look like a shadow. This is another range. That's one range, and this is another range. So this is sliding down like that and joining here. I'm going to make it slightly warm. See, when I paint over this, let this dry for a while and I'll paint over that later. When I paint over that, they will start moving like the rocks have been hewn out. When you're learning to paint, uh, and if you're following a certain teacher, uh, it's very important that you follow that teacher without deviating to other teachers or other styles while you are learning from that teacher. Because there is a certain way of handling things. Now, like what I'm doing now, may not be a standard way for another teacher. So, if you are going to be learning from me or following my technique, and suddenly start learning from another or following another teacher's technique, your painting is going to suffer. That usually happens. So that's the reason why you should not uh, mix styles. They're called styles, while you're learning, you shouldn't be bothered about style, but still it is called style. This particular paper is absorbing color, so what I'm trying to do is, I am trying to create texture I will paint over this. This comes here. Okay. I'll paint over this and get a texture of foliage out there, no? Like a short statured tree forest. This is not going to be snow, only that area is going to be snow. And I am going to go up to that with the snow peaks, which means I'm going to go to the blue, brown, warm gray. Again, I hope the green doesn't come into this. Okay, let me do that. By then this will be dry so that I can give it a wash. I'll just give it a wash. Unless you are from the mountain areas, like Himalayas, it's very difficult for you to understand why certain patterns get formed out there. So the best thing would be to just copy and see if it works. And if it works, follow that. Use that as much as possible. the mind sort of dictates you to try to understand what is happening there. But instinctively, you'll never find out because you are not there. If you are watching those mountains, you can probably understand. From a photograph, it's very difficult to understand what is happening there. It is very difficult. So the best thing would be to copy rather than to understand and interpret. Okay, let's leave it at that. And let me see if I can give this a slightly warm wash. Slightly warm, not a brownish wash. Now, this I'm going to give it a wash and see if it works. It seems to work. When you're doing this, you have to be very careful that you don't disrupt the underlayer. Because if that is disrupted, the coating that you gave, the undercoating that you gave, will get so diluted and smudged, it will not look like a mountain. Okay, so you have to be very careful about that. So you don't paint a wet area. You apply once and let it dry before you go for the second round. If you want to make it dark, you'll have to wait till it becomes dry. Often I say something and I do something else. So I always tell my students, uh, do what I ask you to do. Don't do what I do. You know. And suddenly say, oh, just do what I'm doing. Okay, so that is done. And what I'll do is I'm going to make these brown areas a bit blue because they seem to be too brown. and I'll have to give some shadows to this snow areas, not now, when it is dry. It'll be like that. The snow too would have dimension. Like the rocks are having dimension, the snow too would have dimension. Okay. Now what do? I give it a slightly greenish blue wash. I gave the slightly greenish blue wash, and then this can go in here because this is going to be pretty dark. These strokes can go in. These strokes given like that, even if they become flat at a certain stage, like a third coat, fourth coat, it might become flat, but still you have to apply in strokes like that so that they will have a meaning when you're going to be covering it up with the other colors. This paper is very poor. I don't know. Maybe the paper was they're A3 cut papers. Maybe the papers were taken from an old stock. Do you see the textures remain? Huh? I seldom use black. Uh, I can even say I don't use black. But just to reserve the term, I'll say I seldom use black. though I think the English language says that both seldom use and I don't use the same. Uh, but I'll say black can be used only towards the end of a painting, and that too by experts. Now, some people who know exactly what they are doing. Because the black is such a powerful color, it can dirty the other colors or stand out. Stand out. So when I want to mix a very dark color, say a blackish color, what I do is I take Prussian blue. I start with I take cobalt blue and burnt sienna. That would be my basic colors, and I more burnt sienna means it'll be warm. More cobalt blue would be cool, obviously, and I'll manipulate that. And if I want anything darker than that, I if I mix vermilion to it, I stop talking because I have to concentrate on what I'm doing when I come to these places. When I use vermilion, again the color becomes warm. Like with the brown, the color becomes warm, and if I don't want the warmth, I will have to use a crimson to make the color dark, very dark. See, many artists believe that when they are doing watercolor, they have to be and they have to be bold, as they say, like apply color and splashes. Like even masters have been very careful in getting the intricate texture done, intricate drawing done. Like they have been very careful. So masters who know exactly what they are doing have been very careful in doing that. If you watch, you can find that out. Um, so that's exactly what we have to do. We can't be rash. This is where the angular flat brush comes in handy. That won't be much noticed, but still you have to have a certain level of detailing. That gives a dimension to the snow. Or else it'll be flat. It's already bright, extremely bright. And on top of that, if it is going to be flat, it'll look very odd. Okay, I think it works. That part works. Now I'm going to go over this area with a dull blue. It is a slow process, yes. Uh, it need not be a slow process. You can do it fast, but you won't get this kind of a detailing. That will be sacrificed. So if you want detailing, then you have to accept the slow process and give it the kind of detailing that you can get at with this kind of a pace. It's sort of good that the paper is slightly absorbent. These textures sit well. Probably I'm uh, only because of the paper's problem I am able to do this kind of a texturing, or else the color will move. Color will get shifted as I'm doing this. As you can see, when we did the sky, it was so fast. And now, when we did the distant mountains, it was a bit slower than what we did with the speed of the sky painting. It was slower than that. Now it's taking more time. Yeah, and as it comes closer, it's going to take even more time. That's how it works. I think I'll go from the shadow area to the light area so that these are the shadow areas. Now, actually, the light is coming from the right, from our right, and the shadow is falling on the left. If there is a texture, you have to give it a texture. Okay, you can't give it a flat wash and expect a texture to happen. It has to be a blue green which is dark and dull. It's very important that we don't use uh, opaque colors at all. Okay, so even the darkest color has to be transparent. So we have to keep checking if our dark areas are under control. Uh, it looks as if this is going to be the darkest area. I can use Russian blue, burnt sienna combination and get the depth that I need and get the darkest tone out there and make it transparent. I have to keep a control of that. I have to keep that in mind all the time. When I uh, look at my painting image on the monitor, I have two cameras. One is this, which is taking the video, and the other is for me to see what I am doing. More than seeing from here, because at a certain angle, I don't have the luxury of moving around much because there is a camera right in between me and the painting. So I can only see from where it allows me to see. And the glitter, now like when the paint is wet, is very disturbing. So I have to see, look at my monitor to see what my painting looks like. So from what I see there, this place looks a bit misty, and I'm going to leave it like that, which is very interesting. Okay, so this part is over. I can come to this. I can come to this. I can come to this. Okay. I can come to this. Can I? Yes. Let me take my round brush. I think that will create a better treetop texture. See, this is going to be a warmish green, yellowish green. I know, green is a cool color. That's why I said warmish. To make it come closer. And here it's going to be olive green. Okay, olive green would be burnt sienna and green. That's how you do it. Like do that, let it dry, and give it another coating on top. You will have these textures working for you. Like the texture out there. How else would you get that kind of a texture there? It's 1 o'clock at night in my place. I had a good sleep in the afternoon, so I think I can manage to. I don't know if I can complete it. If you see masters like watercolor masters like Winslow Homer, Sargent, or even modern masters, it looks as if they have been so very casual about coloring certain areas, effortlessly filling the area, and so on and so forth. but if you see them painting, you know, Winslow Homer and Sargent, I haven't seen, naturally, not that old. Uh, but if you start looking at their strokes and start understanding what they're doing as they are now, like what is that layer? What is this layer? How did they get this layer at this point? You'll see that they have very carefully built their layers, whether it's a portrait or a full figure or a landscape or water, waves, boat, fish. You'll see that they've really taken time to get the right texture, to get the right color. 3 layers, 4 layers. There are some paintings, there are some painters who can, with practice, do a painting with bold strokes like that. What they are doing is they are doing something they have practiced 100 times. Slowly the speed increases and they get that kind of a result. But you can't. So, trying to follow them, getting that effect, try to follow them to get that effect is going to be futile. You can't. You simply can't. Are those people cheating on you, saying that, oh, no, like you can do it like this and you can get this effect? Maybe they are, uh, but they are so used to doing it that fast that they forget you. They forget that they are teaching you, somebody who has not done it that fast. You know? When you see the Japanese masters' paintings, no, the Tanaka and the calligraphy works are so different from the figurative works that they do and the landscapes and things like that they do. The florals that they do are very different from the lettering that they do. Lettering is done with flourish. Like shake, shake. Okay, yeah, fine. And that too, those letterings have been practiced for years. And if you have seen poets writing their poems, uh, it just flows, doesn't it? It just flows. How do they get such ideas? They keep thinking about it all the time. They keep thinking about their poetry all the time, rhymes. Uh, they read. That's their life. So they will get that kind of a flow at will, not us. Why should we be writing poetry? Our job is art. But the poets with paint, the people whom we are talking about, they practiced for the strokes and things like that. They practiced for years. They sat with their masters, watching how they hold the brush. Then all those things matter. But when they do their florals and all, they use a technique where very carefully after quite a long time of contemplation, like they keep looking at that. Okay, I take this stroke from here to here, and this place is wet like this. I will wet it a little bit more, and then I'll paint into it. Is very different from the actual stroke that they do. If you see only the actual stroke that they do, you will not understand a thing about what has happened. Muting that is very important because without muting that, this won't stand out. Huh? This won't stand out. Okay, once this dries, I'll go into that again. This I can do without much struggle. So I'll come to this area. Okay, so let me see what I can do with the rocks to start with. Mm, I'm going for the smallest of the flat brushes, the angular flat. These details are going to make the viewer look at your painting for a long time, longer than they would look at an actual scene. Uh, a painting's value increases with its ability to hold on to the attention of the viewer. Okay, that's how things are judged. Oh, okay, so people want to look at this painting a lot. So this is a good painting. Okay. Um, Here we don't have to specify what we are doing. Overall structure should be enough. The reason why I'm doing the rocks first is I have to paint uh, the grass around it. So so if I miss something at this stage, I will not be able to sort of go back and correct it. So I'll have to do it right now, do it well right now, and paint around these rocks later. Okay, I'll just leave it like that. And I will go for the okay. I think I'll stop the recording once.